Hello friends and welcome to this presentation of how to pass the 2023 Level 2 CFA exam. My name is Dr. BJ Tolia. I am the Level 2 professor at Kaplan Swayze, and in that role I author/edit the Level 2 product portfolio as well as teach Level 2 content. All right, so let's talk about what we are going to cover in this presentation. So first, we'll spend a little bit of time talking about the basics of level 2, including the curriculum, the exam format, and the historical pass rates. Then we'll go into learning the meat of this. What is the learning style that is most conducive to a successful outcome? And then how Kaplan products can help you in that learning journey. All right, so 10 topic areas, nothing new to you, basically all same as level 1, except obviously it is all brand new content. Everything is new at level 2. So within quantitative methods, you're going to learn about topics that you have not seen in level 1, for example. And not only that, one of the big things that you're going to see is the level of depth is much higher. So it is not as shallow as you saw in level 1. We are still relying on the Standards of Practice Handbook for ethics coverage. So it's basically the same content as level 1, but the stylistic presentation of exam questions will differ, which also we'll talk about in a little bit. No GIPS at level 2. You'll have GIPS again at level 3. So GIPS is not covered at level 2. All right. Level 2 is commonly called the valuation level. And, once you notice, all these asset classes are taking up a large portion of the exam weight. So used to be also called as the accounting level because of the difficulty of the FSA readings that are covered in level 2. But the exam weight for FSA has come down over the last 5 years, and so now it is 10 to 15%, which is nothing more than what is the case for equity and fixed income as well. All right. Now the exam format is all item sets. Each item set is going to be 4 questions, 4 multiple choice questions, just like you saw at level 1, 3 answer choices. But the presentation is you're going to see an essay or a vignette preceding the 4 questions. So the 4 questions will reference either the exhibit or the personalities being talked about in the story in the vignette. So they'll say, is Marcia correct about statement 1? And then you look at statement 1 that Marcia made in the vignette and are critically evaluating that statement. So that is your item set format. When you go through this learning journey, preparation process, you will come across item sets in the Q bank. So it'll give you a good feel as to stylistically how item sets are different. It is not going to be a whole lot different than level 1. It is just a different way. That's all. All right. Now, there are 2 sessions. Each session is 132 minutes, roughly 2.25 hours long. So there are 2 sessions and with an optional break. And each session will have 11 item sets, basically 44 questions. Only 10 out of the 11 are graded. So one of the item sets in each session is going to be a dummy. That is something that is being used by the Institute to collect data on new questions in the, in the exam question pool. And once a slew of candidate in a specific window go through those questions, they will get a difficulty rating assigned, and then they can be used in live testing in subsequent exam windows. All right, the pass rates for level 2, they don't appear to be too bad, mid-40s, but keep in mind the entering pool of candidates being evaluated are pre-screened, meaning these are the candidates that have already passed level 1. So now you are dealing with a more sophisticated, more smart candidate pool against which you are evaluated, and still the pass rate is still mid 40s. So it gives you an indication of the level of difficulty. I'm not trying to dissuade you or discourage you for this exam in your learning journey. All I'm trying to tell you is, if you don't approach this with the seriousness it deserves, it is not going to end well. So I just want you to realize it. All right, 5 differences from level 1. We're going to kind of go in a reverse order. Number 5 is topic weightings are variable. We already went through that. So, for example, fixed income was 10 to 15% rather than exact 12% that you would have seen in level 1. Second difference is item set format. We already talked about it. Instead of individual multiple choice question being standalone, here now you have item set with 4 related questions. So an item set in equity will all have 4 questions in equity. More integration of different topics. What you'll find is how each component of this different parts of the curriculum is really synthesized when it goes to the final task, and that task for level 2 is what? Valuation. So you'll see the linkages that exist between different topic area very nicely, and if you're looking at it as a enrichment, if you're looking at it as enjoyment of learning, then you will enjoy finding those linkages hidden in the curriculum. All right, number 2, this is a subtle difference but huge one, important one. The exam writers are charged with evaluating your analytical skills. So basically they want to be able to separate out the wheat from the chaff, those who have analytical skills versus those that don't. And the tool that they use is this exam. So they are going to focus on your analytical skill. It is no longer sufficient to simply memorize your formulas and memorize the content. It is going to rely on your understanding and depth of understanding of the material. Do you know what you're really doing? That's what the exam writer is trying to figure out. All right. And then finally, way more material. If you go through the actual CFA Institute curriculum books, 6 books, huge quantity of material, much more so than level 1. So just, if you thought level 1 was horrible, well, it is even more so. So the breadth and the depth of the curriculum has expanded at level 2 compared to level 1, and therefore just more material for you to enjoy. You get it for the same price. All right, how to efficiently prepare for the level 2 exam. I'll summarize it. A rigorous, well-planned. So you need a plan and then execution of the plan. 300 plus hours. And again, the number of hours is completely variable. It depends. There is no hard and fast. It depends on individual candidate. Also, you can never be over-prepared. I mean, it is always better. Even if, for example, you would have passed at 400 hours, it may make sense for you to put in a little extra cushion so as to not regretting it. There are 5 components to your journey for your preparation process. The first one is simply learning the material. Learning can occur by reading the Suasion notes, reading the curriculum, or watching a video on the content from the module Suasion notes video module videos. So learning is gathering information, absorbing information. Practicing is bolded for very precise reason. It is extremely important. As you go through the curriculum step by step, reading by reading, chapter by chapter, module by module, one thing you will find is you need to have regular periodic practice, doing practice question, either from the QBank, the Suasion QBank, or from the CFA Institute Learning Ecosystem, which is their QBank. Either way, you will find little subtle differences between them as well as stylistic differences, and that will be giving you a well-rounded approach to preparing for the exam. Now, the practice component, there is a lot of benefit for it. We'll talk more about it when we get to it. But while you do the first go off at the curriculum, you should be devoting only 40% of your time to learning and 60% to practice. People want to just be done with it. So you read through your material rather quickly. You just want to check it off your list because that is how we are trained. Instant gratification. That is not the right approach. You want to learn and practice. When you practice, you find out how well you learn. All right. So that is the first go at the curriculum. Then the next go is known as the review phase. Now the review phase is very intricately linked to the first go of the curriculum. First go, remember, includes learning and practice. So the review, if your first go is strong, is good, then your review will be short. You can get through your review in, let's say, 2 weeks. We have review product that I'll talk about later on to formalize this reviewing of the curriculum. But that is basically giving you a second go. The stronger your first go is, faster your second go of the curriculum is. After you're done with the review, then it is a feedback loop approach. That is your final component, and that is your assessment. This is what we used to call perform phase. Perform is basically taking mock exams or practice exams and evaluating your gaps in learning. You did it, chapter by chapter, but do you remember all of the 10 topic areas and be able to answer any question within those 10 topic areas within a 4.5 hour time period? That is exceptionally challenging, and that is why a CFA exam is one of the toughest exams out there. So, you take a normal college course, you're taking a class in accounting, you take a exam, well, that is just on accounting. Then next day you have an exam on economics, for example. And so you're basically given time to prepare for economics after you try to make room in your brain, getting rid of what you learned in accounting because that exam is over. Well, not so for CFA. Everything all occurs one time window on one single day, and you're basically required to have that memory dump all at once. So that is what makes it exceptionally challenging. And therefore, because it is exceptionally challenging, starting late, doing a crash course, for example, like, trying to devote 10 hours a day, 1 month prior to exam, that is not going to work. That is a recipe for failure. And finally, as you go through this learning journey, make sure you are staying true to LOS, the learning outcome statement. Why? Because your exam is going to evaluate your knowledge consistent with the learning outcome statement. Every exam question has to be tagged to a specific LOS, and therefore anything that outside of LOS is not testable. Now, one of the things that candidates often get suckered into is, this LOS keyword does not talk about calculate, so calculation is outside the scope. All the keywords are fairly broad. So even if it does not specify calculate, doesn't necessarily mean calculation is outside the scope. All right. So when it comes to just plain vanilla learning, nothing to do with CFA, learning, science. And this is not something that I have found out. This is something that is done by experts in learning pedagogy, in learning science. And so what is learning approaches that are successful, have demonstrated some success, and what are very effective learning approaches. So first we'll look at moderately effective approaches. One is elaborative interrogation and self-explanation. These are approaches which essentially distill the knowledge, what is the key crumbs of wisdom, and that is what you're trying to absorb. So these are moderately effective by trying to understand the underlying process. You are getting a more deeper connection with the curriculum. Now, other approach is interweaved learning. So rather than, doing 20 questions on equity, 200 questions on equity all at once. You spread it out. You do, watch a module video on accounting, and then you practice some 20 questions on equity that you covered already last week, and so forth. So that makes the learning approach, your actual physical learning, less taxing, less onerous. So you are not going to feel the fatigue. When you feel fatigue, your attention span is shorter, your absorption of the material is lower, the marginal utility diminishes rapidly. All right, what are the highly effective approaches? So kind of a play on the interleaved learning is the distributed learning. And here what we're talking about is spreading learning over time. And as I was saying, rather than cramming learning in the last month prior to the exam, that is the recipe for failure. So learning over time, let's say over 5 months, spreading it out leads to better understanding of the material. You're going to come out of it wiser and better retention. The whole objective is to retain the material that you're going to be learning. So typically candidates start learning 5 months prior to the exam. And so the learning that occurs in months 1 and 2 may seem very distant. Retention is a little hazy. Some loss of retention is inevitable. No problem. It'll come back to you when you go through the review phase. The stronger your underlying learning journey was, the stronger your phase 1 approach was, the faster your review will occur, faster you will remember. It'll come back to the forefront rather quickly. The test effect. What researchers have found is, testing is critical, very important. And more importantly, getting something wrong is even more important. So you're doing a lot of practice question, and you get some of the questions wrong. Let's say you did 50 questions and you got 5 questions wrong, and 5 questions you guessed on correctly. So totally you guessed on 10 questions, 5 of them you got correct, 5 of them you didn't get it correct. When you go through the review phase where you're evaluating how you did and going over the questions you did not get correct, you are more prone to paying a little extra attention to the ones you got wrong. There is a little punitive mechanism that is triggered in the brain that tells you, hey, I got this wrong, and therefore you don't like that punitive mechanism. You don't like that feeling, and therefore you will your brain will devote the resources to not make the same mistake. The ones you guessed on and got correctly does not get the same level of attention, the same level of dedication from your brain, and therefore you may make a mistake when facing that kind of question, similar question that you guessed on correctly. Why? Because your brain did not provide the similar level of attention to those questions where you guessed correctly. And this is, again, learning science, nothing to do with CFA. So, researchers have given people quizzes on general knowledge, and they basically observed the same result. All right. Preparing with Kaplan Swayze. First, when you log into your account, you will have an activity feed. Basically, activity feed makes this huge task ahead of you. Remember, the quantity of material is huge. It makes it manageable. It aligns with your availability based on your customized calendar, and you are going to approach it in chunks. What do I call as bite-sized learning? So we use modules. So every chapter is basically broken up into shorter modules with an accompanying video should you need it. It allows you to spread your studying out, which is your distributed learning. That is, remember, critical in or very effective learning style. It does not rely on cramming, which is what you exactly don't want to do. It leaves plenty of time for review, which is an important component of a successful preparation process. All right, one of the first products that I want to talk about, that's our flagship product, and that's Swayze Notes. 3 C's describe it: clear, comprehensive, and concise. Comprehensive meaning, yes, it is concise. Yes, it is much shorter in terms of number of words as compared to the official curriculum, but it is not compromised, meaning every single LOS, anything that is testable is covered in the notes. I have included every single LOS. That is an important takeaway. It is clear we try to present the material in non-jargon, we don't use jargon, and make it as easily digestible as possible. So present it in a user-friendly manner. All right, the Suasion notes are 5 volumes, 1 through 5, and again, with topic areas consistent with the curriculum, the official curriculum of the CFA Institute, and the notes themselves have built-in questions to remember our practice component. Now, the key to the practice, however, is the Suasion notes. 3,000 plus questions. Lots of them are standalone question. And, oftentimes people tell me, well, why are we seeing standalone question when the actual exam is all item set? Well, I say, remember, the QBank is not used as a predictor of your success on the actual exam. It is not that. It is a learning tool. What I want you to do when you use the QBank is make sure you're understanding what you're learning. And that's where the 60%, 40% time breakup that I was talking about. You read something, but you don't really know if you're understanding it. By going through the practice component, you are assessing, you're identifying whether you're learning or not. And if you're not learning, you're fixing it. Mock exams, we have 6 full-length mock exam. And I say full length, basically replicates the exam day experience in terms of the field. Remember, computer-based testing, so our software aligns with what you're going to see on the actual exam, and has 11 in session 1 and 11 item sets in session 2. Everything is exactly like you see on the real exam. Obviously, the questions themselves will differ. I don't have access to what you are going to see on the actual exam, but that's why we have 6 mock exam to cover broad array of testable material, testable LOSs. All right. Now what we have done is we have basically packaged this content into easy to order packages. So the first one is Essential Self-Study Package. As the name suggests, it is the bare minimum, has no instructional component. So what you get is Suasion notes, books 1 through 5. There are module videos that I was talking about. If you are stuck in a specific module and you need a tutorial on it, you have video to access. Comprehensive video, every single module is covered. You also get quick sheet. It's a trifold with all the formulas. You should be familiar with it from level 1. Covers with 4 mock exams and also includes the QBank. All right. Now, keep in mind the Essential does not have instructional component other than the module videos. Now, we have several instructional components. The first one is we offer an online class, a live online class. This is kind of similar to a college course, 3 hours on a weeknight every week for 14 weeks and covering up everything other than ethics. But not every single LOS is covered. Why? Because we have a time constraint. So, going over really the areas that we feel are going to be more value added for you. So you're not going to have an instructor read off definitions from a slide. You see it in the notes. There is not a whole lot of value added, and precisely why we don't do ethics in our weekly class either. Now, as an alternative to the weekly class, one of the things we found is people, have varying schedules. So, for example, if their classes and the class is based on Eastern time, 6 to 9 p.m. on a weeknight. So, for example, we offer it on Wednesdays and 6 to 9 Eastern time. Well, not every Wednesday you may have ability to attend the live class. You have an access to archives. All archives, whether you attended or not, will be available to you all the way until exam day. So, or until your exam window is over. So you have an archive, but what we found is a lot of people basically having to resort to archive as opposed to attending live class. So then we felt if you're going to watch an archive, meaning not a live class, a recorded class, then might as well create content that is not limited to that 3-hour time frame. So what we did was we added more weekly class type content, more practice, more hands-on stuff, and including coverage of CFA Institute ecosystem questions, some questions from their Q bank as well, and created this product, which is basically a pre-recorded version of our weekly class. We call it on-demand streaming. That allows you to have complete flexibility. You decide how much you want to cover in one sitting. You don't have to dedicate exactly 3 hours, and you can go at the speed at which it works for you. So now coming to a package, if bundling those instructional component. So premium instruction package basically includes the essential plus what? Plus the on-demand class. And that is, pre-recorded class that we are talking about, as well as on-demand review workshop. So we have not talked about that. So this is within your review phase. In your review phase, we have a product called the Exam Workshop Review. What that product does is it includes 2 books. One book is what we call as mind maps. Basically, think of it as slides that show you how different parts of a specific reading are connected. So it gives you sort of a very top level overview of, you may have only 5 slides from multiple regression reading, but those 5 slides is really valuable. Why? Because when you go through it, when you look through it, immediately you recognize, okay, I remember this, I remember this, I remember that. I don't remember this. Let me go and look that up. So that is the purpose of it. There is an instructional component to that as well. So we use those mind maps in our pre-recorded videos. And then we also go over, there is another book, which is book full of item sets, full of questions. And you practice with a question. Not all of the questions are going to be debriefed in the video, but a lot of questions are debriefed in the video as well. Again, you are provided with a question as well as answer, so you may not need to spend time doing a video debrief for every single question. That is just too much time. In addition to it, we have a super secret sauce, which is essentially, think of it as really condensed, must know, last minute review of most important topics within the top 10 topic areas. So a little more advanced or a little more richer package is the Premium Plus package, which allows you the option to have a live online class as compared to the on-demand, as well as option to go to a 5-day review instead of the 3-day. Again, obviously the 5 and 3 is only applicable to live review workshops. So what are the review workshops? We already went through the 2 books that are included, the mind map book and the question book. Now, so the live online is 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So you'll have to take a Friday off. Again, even if you are unable to attend for whatever reason, all those classes are recorded and archives are included. So if you are able to attend or not, you can have access to the archive. Now, there is going to be in-person. We're going to go back to having in-person seminars in select cities, 3 and 5 days. Look out for details on our website. All right, so to summarize, what is a successful approach? What is the good strategy to preparing for the level 2 exam? First, start early. Second, learn, absorb information by reading the notes or watching the videos, or both, depending on your personal needs and situation. Do the corresponding question. That's your key. Practice. Remember bold. Attempt the end of reading prompts. And again, this is also covered in the learning ecosystem of CFA Institute when you log in to your candidate portal. Topic quiz at the end of each topic. So you're done with equity, go through topic quiz on equity, which are all item set questions. Attend the review workshop. Remember, that is your review phase. It formalizes the approach to reviewing. It is really valuable. We get very, very, very positive feedback on that product. And then that's the last phase, which is assessment and fixing. So that is where you take your mock exams. 4 mock exams are included in the essential package. Here, mock 5 and 6 are available as an add-on. Again, everybody is different. So some people need a little extra push. And so for those people, 5 and 6 may be a good additional, review. And that is exactly why 5 and 6 also have video tutorials. So if you're not as comfortable or you're not as feeling prepared, then you may want to add a couple of extra mocks to your product portfolio. Now, online system, Kaplan online system uses performance tracker. You can identify areas that you are going according to plan and not according to plan. So you can essentially fix your weaknesses prior to going to the exam day. And the last one, we always say save the ethics for last. And it's not saving the best for the last, but because ethics is nothing other than memorization. There are 2 components to it. You know the standards that you need to memorize, not the standard numbers, but what the labels are, knowledge of law, for example, and what is covered under it. And then what kind of questions you see. So doing, saving that ethics for last 10 days prior to the exam is a good strategy because it remains more fresh. There is no retention issue there. All right. Regardless of whether we see you as a candidate within the Kaplan community, I wish you our sincerest very best and good luck and give it your best go.